I'm Mike from Mike and Keys.
I'm Keys.
We're the production duo Mike and Keys. We've been working with everybody from 50 Cent to T.I.
We was nominated for Victory Lap from Nipsey Hussle. We did Dom Kennedy, Get Home Safely, West Side with Love Part 2. Mainly we're known for Nipsey Hussle though.
Our experience with working on Nipsey's album was definitely a journey. We started working with Nip in 2013 and the album didn't come out till 2018. Yeah, so that was like the most unorthodox project we've ever done.
I met Nip through a friend of ours named Phonics. He introduced me to Nipsey Hussle in 2007 before anybody really knew who he was. I met him and his brother, Sam. I played some beats and Nip ended up buying one of them for $200. So that was my introduction to him, was him buying a beat from me.
My introduction to Nip was actually with Phonics too. One day he was like, we gonna go to the studio in LA and we gonna pull up on Nip and work on some songs. And I remember at this time, Nip was working on a song with Drake. Drake was just coming up in the game and Nip was just like, yo, I'm working on this new song with Drake. And like, I knew from that point on, I knew he was gonna be something. And like, we didn't end up working with him till later, but that introduction was like, we knew it was gonna be something.
Well, we kind of met on like in the MySpace days. I was part of this thing called Rock Battle, hosted by Rock Wilder, the producer, and he had a site for producers to where they could just post beats and battle and do all that. So I came up under that in the internet era in MySpace. So, but we both knew Phonics, so that's kind of like we had mutual friends and all that, like producer friends.
The producer that really brought us together was Jay Dilla. He was like the #1 inspiration. You know, Timberland, Dr. Dre, you know, the Neptunes, you know, Teddy Riley, Quincy Jones. These are like the producers that are, you know, timeless. Yeah, I played drums in the church.
I never played in church. I always wanted to, but I never did that. Of course, my name is Keith, so I know how to play a little bit of that. And I'm starting to learn how to play bass and all that. So just incorporating that into the production.
Well, what caused the name change was there was another group also named the Futuristics. And they spelled theirs with a C and we spelled ours with a K. So it was a lot of confusion when we were going to sessions because they were producers that were on Atlantic Records and we worked with a lot of people at Atlantic at the time. So it was just a lot of confusion to the point to where we had the same lawyers in the same office. We didn't want people to be confused on who we was, so we changed our name.
The development was a long process, so it just grew in time. You know, we just had experience in the studio and eventually came up with a sound just by just being persistent and working. First placement was 50 Cent on the, what was that album called?
Before I Self-Destruct.
Yeah. That was in 2009. That was mine. Yours was
See, I came in on the independent game, so like I was working with like Keek the Sneak.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know who that is, but like they were like big artists in the Bay Area. But I would say the first real artist I worked with was this artist named Booba. He was from Paris. I think he was like the 50 Cent of Paris at this time. And that was like my introduction of like, oh, like, you know, we can really do this for real.
We all about loyalty, you know. That's why Nip worked with us, because we was loyal. And me and Mike share that same characteristic. So I think it kind of just grew. You know, we've been together since like 2008, and we still together. Like Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, like on that. So we just stay loyal to each other.
To be honest with you, like we both come from a Christian family environment. You know, both our fathers was pastors. I think just that alone, just where we come from, like we just connected, just in general, like to the point to where like when me and Keys first started working together and hanging out, everybody thought we was brothers.
I think it's the fact that we care. Like we ain't just in it for the money. Like we really want to make music that's gonna last forever. Like every time we work on music, we're like, it gotta have that feeling to where it's gonna last. Like our parents will listen to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Cause you know, we don't just listen to rap music, we listen to everything. Like we listen to Marvin Gaye, you know, anything like Motown, like all that soulful, anything that got soul in it, that's what we're about. Mm-hmm. So that type of stuff is timeless to me.
The word timeless, I think, is just the feeling of the music. Like the music makes you feel a certain way. And our goal was always to be like, man, like give people chill bumps when they hear the music. It might not necessarily be the best single on the radio, but it's people always be like, that was my favorite song off that album. And that all, you know, that makes us feel good, you know, to this day. You know, we've been in the music business for a long time, so to still make people feel good that's definitely a tough thing that no one talks about.
I like the effects and Reason. It just gives us like a whole different sound. That I feel like that's how we developed the sound, is just by using Reason all these years. Like Reason is part of what we do, so the effects for sure.
Because everybody always asks us like what VSTs we use, but Reason was like one of the last DAWs to get VSTs, so we never really used VSTs. So everything we kind of used was stock sounds out of Reason, and we just manipulated those stock sounds. Well, I know in Reason, like when you record audio, it sounds different than the other DAWs to us. But like when, you know, we record a lot of musicians, you know, live instruments a lot, so it has to be recorded a certain way for it to sound good. And Reason definitely gets good recordings in that when we put the effects on it. So that's definitely like our secret, is like, you know, recording live instruments and then putting the effects on it. Which, the trans bass. Man, that's funny. Who knows? That's crazy. Like Reason has really, really good stock sounds, and we've definitely used that trans bass a lot.
That was all the Slauson Boy too. Was the trans
bass, yeah, for sure.
I like Roland. Roland makes some dope hardware stuff. I have a Roland Jupiter, so
the Andrometer. Yeah, keyboard is like, man, it's a different sounding keyboard. It's like a
synthesizer.
It's a big synthesizer. You know, DJ Khalil is our mentor. He's like the king of keyboards. So he let us borrow like 4 or 5 vintage keyboards, and that was in the mix. And that keyboard that is incredible.
Man, we use this word a lot, but just vibe. We just vibe, man. Like, I don't know. It's crazy because we'll have musicians come through. Sometimes we won't have musicians. We'll just be making beats all day. But musicians always give us like inspiration because they give us like little compositions they made, and then we'll just make beats out of them. But once we hear something dope, man, we're just gonna go in.
Yeah. Our first real manager, Angelo Sanders, he was at A&R at Aftermath with Dr. Dre, and he was a part of Get Rich or Die Tryin', Game's first album, Busta Rhymes, John B, Tupac. He was a part of a lot of legendary records, and he noticed that when we was in the studio, like we had dope music, but we couldn't get artists to get on our beats. And he put us to the side one day and he was like, if you want to be a real successful producer, you got to be able to control the room. You know what I'm saying? So we just learned that by time. It definitely took a minute, but I'm glad we did it. I think to be relevant, anything, you got to be around younger people. And one of the people that definitely we got to give credit to that helped us a lot is Baby Shot. He just was inspired, and he knows all the producers, all the writers. And when you are inspired by younger people, you know, that I think that's what makes us still able to do it right now, is like that we know we can get better, and there's people that is way better than us. So we don't have that mentality of like the older producers used to have. We kind of got the energy of like, I'm glad to see that, and we want to see it win, because if they win, then we gonna win. For us, we kind of work with the same people we've been working with for years, and that's DJ Khalil,
and 1500
1500 or nothing, and Jake One. Those are the people that we've been consistently been working with, that we've got samples from.
Like if you have like percussions, that kind of gets the rhythm going. Like having like a percussion loop or a drum loop and putting your own drums on top of that. That's like a secret that we have. Mm-hmm. So that kind of makes the pocket go kind of cool, because, you know, you already kind of stemming from the loop you used, but you putting your own drums to it. So, so yeah, that's how we do our drums for sure.
I think that's the easiest way to get a feeling or a rhythm going, because believe it or not, starting drums is the hardest thing to do. I think if you're trying to do different type of drums, you're definitely going to need some rhythm. I'm gonna keep it real, man, and I told him this, but that BWB kit was a game changer.
We've been using
the Johnny Giuliano kit.
Oh yeah, that's a
we
classic.
used that for a long time.
Yeah.
That was a classic kit. All the HHS kits, do you remember those? It'll be like a Jay-Z kit. It'll be like a Timberland kit. Like someone made their own version of the kit with their loops and sounds in them. That was the game changer. But for anybody that knows about the HHS kits, they know what they are. To be honest with you, we don't really do nothing to our beats. I think it's all about sound placement.
Yeah,
that's the number one key to like
mixing.
Mixing. Like you gotta mix the right kick with the right snare, and you'll be able to hear it. Like, oh, this blends good together. And people always ask us like, man, how y'all get Reason to sound like that? To be honest with you, we're not doing nothing. Making the levels right, not too high, not too low, and keeping the good raw sounds that we picked.
I think the most rewarding aspect of that was just getting to know who Nipsey was, like just getting to know him as a person. And at that time, we was working on Get Home Safely and T-Fly. We was working with everybody. We had DJ Quick in there. Everybody was in there. So it felt like the whole West Coast was all working together. Mm-hmm. So working on Crenshaw was kind of like part of that energy. Mm-hmm. And it was just fun, like just getting to work with everybody and just seeing what type of people they are. They was fun loving people that love doing music. So that was awesome.
When you create music, you got to create music with people that you like and like each other and have like a relationship. Like working with Nip, he was always like a camaraderie, family type person. So he was always like, man, what we eating together today, or like what we smoking together, or like, you know, what we doing together. It was, and so we always felt like we was a part. I feel like you're way more creative when people make you feel like you a part of the process versus just, here's a beat and I hope you rap on it. Dom had did an album called the Yellow Album, and we wasn't on it. So we was like, man, like we hit Dom, like that's crazy. Like we didn't have one song on there. So he was like, man, Get Home Safely. We gonna do my next album. And he was like, I'm gonna call it Get Home Safely. And so that's like basically how it happened.
Through our manager, Angelo, we used to hang out at his garage, and I believe he brought Dom Kennedy through.
Yeah, he brought him through. He was like, this is the new artist from LA that he was like, that's gonna be dope and has a lot of potential. And we started working with Dom immediately, and Dom was one of the first artists that really got our name popping in LA, or just in the mixtape era. That during the mixtape era, you had to really be popping on blogs and stuff. So like Dom definitely jump started our career with that for sure.
I think Dom just let us be free musically and creatively. Like Mike was playing drums on some of the tracks. You know, I think that was like really our first time working with musicians too.
Mm-hmm. On the album.
Yeah, on the album. And he just let us be free, man. Just let us do whatever we wanted to do.
Like we recorded every song. Yeah. He came to our studio. And at that time we had a studio with DJ Quick. So DJ Quick was one of Dom's, you know, that someone he looked up to. So Dom was looking at like the fact that you guys got a studio with DJ Quick is crazy. So just every day we was there inspired, you know what I'm saying? Wait, say that again. This is very important. This is the stuff we got to be politically correct. We got to talk slow. For us, you know, we're older, you know what I'm saying, and we've been around a long time. So for us, we've never really tripped about none of that. You know what I'm saying? We've kind of just did the music. I felt like everybody else was tripping but us. But because we not tripping, it makes it look like we tripping. You know what I'm saying? But we've always collabed with a lot of producers. Like, you know what I'm saying? 1500 is a big group of people. You know what I'm saying? Or just anybody. Like, we never had a problem really about splits or nothing. I just think, you know, we were some of the first producers to be using, you know, loops and samples. So when it got to the lawyers with the paperwork, they were so confused by the creation and how this happened. Like, they're like, well, you got a sample from this producer, and they didn't know if it was from a rec, you know what I'm saying? It was a confusing language. But for us, I mean, we ain't got no problems. Like, if whatever the percentages is and all that, like, we feel like that's petty. Like, you know, like Nip used to always say this to us. He's just like, I don't want a penny more or a penny less. I just want what I deserve. So that's how we feel. Like, we just kind of you know, we kind of put it in God's hand, man, because the music business will make you negative when it comes to splits in the business. So the best advice that I would give to any producers is just first pray. And then the second, just, you know, all you can do is just hope that you're going to get treated fairly. Well, we always love working with new artists. Like, we've never been ever opposed to that. So I think we met Huey Brisk through Buddy. Yeah, we met Huey, and they look like brothers, actually. Buddy was just like, you guys should work together. And Huey's like, man, I'm hungry and I'm ready to work. So we always love when an artist is like, whenever he comes in the studio, he comes right and goes to work immediately. So that makes it easier for us to work.
Huey Brisk's energy is amazing. Like, I remember this one time he came up in the studio. He was just playing a beat. He didn't even say what's up. He just went in the booth and just started rapping.
Yeah.
And made a full song. I'm like, this dude's crazy, man. He's super talented though. Yeah. For real.
Our artist that we're working with right now, his name is K. Franklin. He's a new artist, singer, producer. I think he's going to be the sleeper from out here because, you know, everybody puts a lot of light on the rappers. Our little brother Casey Veggies, it's a lot of artists that people don't talk about that have you know, brought things to the music game that no one speaks about. You know, like Tyler the Creator is from LA. You know, the LA music scene is getting built right now, like rebuilt. You know, when Nipsey passed, I felt like that killed a lot of energy.
It's a lot of talent out here.
Yeah, it's a lot of talent.
Producers as well.
Yeah.
Producers, singers, artists.
Dr. Dre made the standard so high, that's very, very hard to compete with. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing Diamond Records, you know what I'm saying, as a producer, and every artist that you touch is successful. You know, so I think the bar was just set high. So I think now everybody is just back to the basics. I think because everybody comes to LA, it gets overlooked, the culture, but there is a lot of culture out here in the music. I think once everybody in LA comes together, you're going to really see what the real LA culture is. I think the last time people really seen it was, you know, the Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg era. That was when the culture was like worldwide. And I think it's going to get back to that, you know, like I think what LA has to do is have the same energy that Atlanta has. Well, I know we hitting these movies hard. I know it's already January. We done already been in 2 movies. Title track for this movie called Fear.
You People.
The You People.
They used last time that I checked on that movie.
In that movie. But that's our goal for 2023 really is to really expand our brand, put out as much music as we possibly can as Mike and Keys, and really dominate the TV movie market.
I mean, to be honest, a lot of those sync deals, they just pick the songs. Like they'll hit us up and ask for permission, but the songs be already out. And they just pick what's out, and then they just go from there and use it a certain way, like on a certain part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. So, or like we just did, for instance, we did the song for what's the movie, the Godfather.
Oh, the Godfather of Harlem.
Godfather of Harlem, yeah, with Dave East, and that song is going to be on his album, but it got synced before it came out on his album. So it's like you really, with the sync, you never know. I just feel like that's a timing thing. Like the music got to fit what it's doing at the right time for that to happen.
My advice would just be, just believe in yourself and, keep working on your craft, man. You're gonna be dope, man, if you just keep your head on the music and nothing else. Just stay focused. Have that Mamba mentality on the beach, man. Just go crazy.
All right, we here with our family producer grind. This is Mike.
This is Keys.
We gone.